welcome to Inside number 23, my channel which is all about sewing and knitting and generally living the craftiest life possible. My name is Katie and you can find me all over the various social medias as Miss Lavelli. I am most active on Instagram though. You can also find a group for the podcast if you head over to Ravelry and search Inside number 23 in the groups tab. That's where I post my show notes for this podcast, although I do tend to pop them down below as well. But that's where you can get involved in our various cows and giveaways and all of that kind of good stuff. And I am coming to you, as always, from Hertfordshire, which is just north of London in the UK, where I live with my gorgeous husband Emrys, our adorable puppy Rolly, and I can't tell you how happy I am to finally be back with you guys after a long hiatus, much longer than was anticipated. For those of you who are unaware, I have been in New York recently. We went to New York, Emrys and I, for just over a week, and we went there for Vogue Knitting Live, which was incredible. It was just the best thing ever. But when we got back, unfortunately, due to various unforeseen circumstances, I contracted some very nasty bugs and bits and pieces. But as you may be able to hear from my voice, I am still a little bit groggy. I have some voice now, which is obviously fantastic. Last week I wanted to podcast so much but genuinely could not make the slightest sound. So I'm just thrilled to be back with you. I have missed you, and my goodness, you guys, I know that I often say that I have so much to talk about, but this is something else. I have so much to share with you this week. So right off the bat, I want to explain what's going on with this week's episode. I thought long and hard about exactly what I wanted to include in the episode, because obviously I like to keep my episodes at less than an hour. It's just personal preference. But I thought I'm never going to be able to get everything that I want to say said in an episode that's restricted to one episode of less than an hour. So what I have decided to do this week for this episode is that I am dividing it into two parts. You heard me correctly, you guys. We have a podcast episode that is in two parts this week. So double the viewing pleasure for you guys. The way that I'm going to kind of set that up is this first part, hi, welcome to part one, is going to be dealing with a little bit of administrative stuff. And then pretty much the whole first part of the episode is going to be dealing with our time in New York, my time at Vogue Knitting Live, and also a little bit of a New York haul, which is relatively substantial. I did treat myself to some lovely things. Part two of this episode is going to be much more structured in the way that my regular episodes are. So I'll be talking about what I've been working on. I do have some owl posts to share and a couple of bits and pieces like that. As always, in my notes, I am going to timestamp everything. So I will include exactly what I'm talking about and timestamps for all of those in my show notes down below and on the Ravelry page. So if various parts of this don't interest you, obviously you can pick and choose, or you may just want to stick around for the whole thing. It's entirely up to you. But yes, that's how things are going this week. So like I said, I'm going to start off with a little bit of administrative niceness, and I have a really lovely thing to get us kick-started, and that is a winner this week. So the last time I podcasted, I talked to you about the fact that we had been given a copy of Stranded magazine, the cold weather edition, to give away, and I opened up a thread in the Ravelry group, and you guys have had a long time to enter this because, like I said, didn't intend to be away for this long, but I just left the thread open kind of indefinitely because I thought, why not leave it open until the last possible minute? But basically, I just asked you which pattern within that collection that you loved, and I mean, I loved every single one. You should really check out Stranded magazine in general. I absolutely adore it. But I did close the thread and I randomly generated a number to pick the winner, and I'm very excited to say that the winner of the cold weather edition of Stranded magazine was number 21, Ramona Firehorse, who is Ramona from Toronto. So yay, Ramona, how exciting. I am so happy, Ramona, that your number got picked. I am just thrilled to be able to send you this prize. I'm going to be passing your details on to the lovely ladies at Stranded magazine and let them know that you're the winner. But yeah, I'm just so thrilled, and I really hope that you enjoy the magazine as much as I do, because like I always say, it's one of my favourite knitting magazines of all time. As if one giveaway were not enough, you guys, I actually have the absolute delight of being able to announce another giveaway this week. I know, what's going on? It's just incredible. The amount of generous people in this community just completely blows me away. But I spent a bit of time with lovely Mina of the Knitting Expat podcast while I was in New York, which was such a joy. I adore Mina. She is just one of the most wonderful people that I've had the pleasure to meet through the podcasting community. And she's been generous enough to give us a copy of her new shawl pattern, which is the Snow Day Shawl, which everybody is super excited about, myself included. And for good reason. It is a beautiful pattern. It only requires, I believe, 150 grams of yarn, and it is beautiful. Oh my goodness. She also was kind enough to give me a copy of the pattern, and I do have yarn specifically put to one side for this pattern, which I'm going to be sharing with you later. But basically, she's, like I said, given you guys a copy as well. So I'm going to open up a thread in the Ravelry group. Do head over if you want to take part. And all I want to know is, how would you spend your perfect snow day, as this is the Snow Day Shawl? So pop your answer in the Ravelry thread, and I will be drawing a winner for this giveaway in my next episode next week. So like I said, head on over to Ravelry, enter, and I will let the prize winner know as soon as possible. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about some CAL news. We currently have 2 different knit-alongs running for Inside number 23. The first one is, of course, the Harry Potter CAL that I'm hosting. It is a year-long knit-along. I say knit-along, but people are including crochet. I think we've also been having spinning projects in there. I've yet to see any weaving projects, I believe, but I'm not sure. I think maybe there's one weaving project. But yeah, anything fibre related is totally great to enter. And I'm going to be drawing prize winners at the end of every month. But yes, it's coming up to the point where I will be drawing my first prize for January. And that prize is, of course, this lovely goodie selection from Norah George, lovely Tracy of Norah George. This is going to be our prize for January. One thing that I did want to share with you that is specifically to do with the Harry Potter CAL is that we were lucky enough this week to receive another prize for the Harry Potter CAL from the amazingly talented and wonderful Amber of Makers Haven. Amber got in touch and asked if she could send a prize through for the CAL, and I of course said yes. I've been a huge fan of her project bags for some time after seeing them pop up on other people's podcasts. I just think what Amber does is so special and beautiful, and I'm very happy to say that she has sent us one of her specific Harry Potter project bags for the knit-along. It's all wrapped up at the moment, the one that is for you guys, so I'm going to show you very carefully. And again, apologies for any crinkling. I know that some people don't like that, but if you can see, we have her little label here, Makers Haven, and then rather than being made in specific kind of Harry Potter themed fabrics, this is just beautiful fabrics that are related to Harry Potter. So for example, we have owls, we have a castle on here, there are does, there's a mermaid in here, little stars. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I have decided that I'm going to be combining this with this beautiful skein of yarn from Mon Sheep Shop. This was sent to me as well recently. It is on this beautiful glitz base. I am completely in love with this skein of yarn, and I just thought it paired perfectly with this project bag in terms of just combining to make the most stunning prize. So this is going to be our prize for February, and isn't it gorgeous? I just can't thank Amber enough for sending that through. And also, of course, Cindy from Mon Sheep Shop, who sent me some beautiful skeins of yarn to try. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Amber. I just think this is going to be a really lovely prize. So yes, bear in mind, guys, February entries are going to be standing to win something pretty incredible. I wanted to share with you as well, I was lucky enough that Amber sent me one of the Harry Potter project bags, and I can show it to you out of its little plastic container because I've got mine out already. And here it is. Isn't that just insane. So it has an owl, mermaid, castle here, little doe, kind of cycles of the moon. We've got stars, spell books, more stars at the top. I absolutely love this. I have popped some yarn in here already. This is yarn that I have that I got a little while ago. This is actually a homespun house. It was from the Harry Potter clubs. This is going to be my next set of Harry Potter socks that I will be casting on soon. She also sent me a little matching lavender sachet with a mermaid on it, which I just think is lovely. And it smells gorgeous. I'm going to pop that back in there. So this is my version of the Harry Potter project bag. I love it so much. It's beautiful. And she also sent me a selection of her beautiful minis, which I can't wait to use. Some of them are specifically Harry Potter themed, some of them are not, but they are gorgeous and the cutest card. If you can see this, this K has been hand stitched onto this card and I just think it's absolutely stunning. So Amber, thank you so much. I just can't even. You are so generous and everything you make is so beautiful, and just thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Whoever gets that bag is going to be just so lucky. Moving on from the Harry Potter cowl, the other cowl that we are currently running on this podcast is, of course, the Andy Sat-Along. This is a kind of garment knit-along, which I will be running until the end of March. And the idea is that you have to knit up any of Andy Sat-Along's garments. And my goodness, you guys, there are some of you who have already finished, which I just think is incredible. But everybody has been taking part in the chatter thread. I think all of the sweaters and cardigans look beautiful. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Andy Sat-Along. I'm in the process of now knitting 2 of her garments, and I've already knit one previously. I love them, and it's just really great to see so many people sharing in my love of a particular designer. So do head over to the Ravelry group to check out everybody else's projects if you want inspiration. But like I said, that will be running until the end of March. Yay! Yay for all of the cows! Okay, so I've already been rabbiting on for about 15 minutes, and that was just to do with all of the admin stuff. The rest of this episode, I'm going to divide really into 2 main chunks. First of all, I want to talk about New York in general. So our experience of going to New York on holiday, some of the things that we got up to, some of the places that we went to, and some of the lovely bits and pieces that I picked up along the way. The part after that, I'm going to be focusing specifically on Vogue Knitting Live, and then I am going to have a Vogue Knitting Live haul of sorts at the end of this first part of the episode. But let's get started with me just going through some of the highlights of our trip to New York in general. So, New York. We did a lot of things during this trip that we haven't done previously. We've done kind of the main sightseeing attractions and that type of thing before, so we really wanted to feel more like New Yorkers. And of course that's ridiculous because we will always be tourists when we go to New York, but it did feel that we were seeing more of the real city as opposed to just all tourist attractions, which was lovely. Particular highlights, I think we went to Brooklyn. Neither of us have been to Brooklyn before, and that was an experience. There were some really, really gorgeous places in Brooklyn that I could have just walked around for hours. I loved the experience of going there, and I think if we went to New York again, that would definitely be something that we would want to do more of, explore more of Brooklyn in general, which was lovely. We also spent some time in Soho, and again, I loved it. Spent a lot of time in Central Park, which I always adore. We went to Washington Square Park as well. It was just full of really lovely moments of seeing beautiful places, and we absolutely adored it. I'm going to deal with the elephant in the room right away because I know that you'll probably want to hear about it, and that is that we saw Hamilton when we were there. And yes, I've had so many people contact me about the fact that we got to see Hamilton since I shared that on the New York Diaries, because the whole thing about Hamilton is that it is so popular, it's received such renown, and for very good reason, that it's pretty much impossible to buy tickets. One thing that they do run, however, every day is the Hamilton Lottery, which basically you give your details and then you stand the chance of winning either 1 or 2 tickets to go and see Hamilton at a considerably reduced price. And they do that for the first 2 rows, the first 2 front rows of the stalls for every performance. We thought, why not enter the lottery every day? Which we did, and I ended up winning the lottery on our 4th attempt, because we'd entered every day. One of those days it had a matinee performance, we'd entered twice, and yes, we won the lottery. We sat in the first row and we only paid $10 each for our tickets, and I genuinely feel like it was one of the most incredible moments of my entire life. I don't really feel that I could appreciate it as much as I wanted to, because I was in such shock. I was shell-shocked that I was almost numb for the entire time, from when we found out that we got tickets to when we arrived at the theatre, and then afterwards everything just felt like a bit of a blur. But it was incredible. The only thing that I can say, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because I don't want to feel like I'm rubbing people's nose in it, because I appreciate so much how lucky we are to have had that experience, because I know that so many people try for this lottery and don't get the ticket. So please don't feel like I'm kind of rubbing your nose in it. That's not what this is about at all. But I love the music. I know the music inside out. I've been listening to the cast recording of Hamilton on a loop pretty much since I originally heard about it, but seeing it in person, seeing what they do with the sets, the dance, the individual characterizations, even things like the costume and the lighting and how it's used, every element of that production is so clever and so well thought out that it just blows my mind. I think there are a lot of shows currently running that are all about being big, impressive Broadway shows, and that's kind of what it's about. There's a lot of money involved in the spectacle. This show is spectacular, but in a completely different way. And if I wasn't completely head over heels in love with Lin-Manuel Miranda, I am now completely devoted to him for the entirety of my life. It was one of the most special things that's ever happened to me and Emrys, and I have my playbill. I've got this out for you now, but I am going to frame this and it's going to go on my wall forever, and I'm just so happy that that happened. But yes, getting that out of the way straight away, because I know that that was one of the main things that people talked to me about at Vogue Knitting Live was, I can't believe you got to see Hamilton. And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, it just happened. And I wasn't going to turn it down. So yeah, that was pretty insane. But one of the things that I really wanted to do while we were in New York is visit some shops and various kind of knitting, sewing related places that everybody raves about, when the people, or podcasters who live in and around New York, always talk about these specific places. And I really wanted to just immerse myself in that world, because for me this was like, oh, these are real places and I can actually go there, and they're tangible and I can touch things and experience everything, and it was just amazing. So there were a couple of places that I wanted to tick off my kind of mental wish list in terms of visiting. 2 stores that we visited were both in Brooklyn, and we visited Brooklyn General and Woolen. And that was also the night that I met Kristen for the first time in person, which was completely overwhelming. Kristen, of course, of the Yarngasm podcast and Voule and Vine Yarns. And we have been firm friends for quite a while. Virtually, you might say, through our channels and through Instagram and messages and that type of thing. But meeting her in person just blew me away. She is absolutely delightful. Thank you, Kristen, for being so welcoming, and it was just a joy to finally meet her in person. But those 2 shops are very, very different in Brooklyn. Brooklyn General is very much like as I would imagine, kind of an old style general store to be. It's very warm feeling, lots of yarn covering all the walls, plus fabric, plus bags. Everywhere you look, there's something new and interesting to see. And when I went in, I felt my soul kind of sigh with how happy and content I was in being there. I know for a fact that if I lived locally to Brooklyn General, I would want to visit there at least once a week, just for the feeling that it gave me. In contrast, Woolen is a much newer shop. It is quite a bit smaller than Brooklyn General, and it is a lot more modern in its approach of its layout. It is beautifully curated. You can tell that every single skein of yarn has been picked specifically for that shop. The entire thing has this lovely flow to it, and the way that it's laid out is really, really satisfying. Everything is very clean and well presented, which gives you a really, really nice view of everything that's laid out. In terms of my personal preferences, I think I preferred Brooklyn General to woolen, just because Brooklyn General appeals more to my aesthetic. So I am quite lots of warm tones, homey, cozy feeling type person, and that's the feeling that I got from Brooklyn General. Woolen is a lot more kind of cool and chic and sophisticated, which is beautiful in its own way. But if I pick one of the two, I'd probably go for Brooklyn General, but they're definitely both worth seeing. They really, really are. I did make a couple of purchases at Brooklyn General, not yarny purchases, because when we visited Brooklyn, this was actually in the week leading up to Vogue Knitting Live, and I specifically didn't purchase any yarn before we got to Vogue Knitting Live because I wanted to make sure that I kind of didn't buy all the things before I had the opportunity to actually go and see everything that was available at Vogue Knitting Live. I did, however, purchase some fabrics, which I'm now going to share with you. So a particular brand of fabric that's very popular at the moment is one called Cotton and Steel. They are an incredible company who do kind of quilting cottons and various different weights of fabric now. I know that they don't just do quilting cottons anymore, with the most beautiful designs. You've probably heard of them. They are incredible. The issue is that in order to get hold of them in the UK, because they're all produced in the States, you do have to pay a lot more to get that kind of fabric over here. So when I went to Brooklyn General and I saw that they had a small selection of cotton and steel fabrics, I just freaked out. I was so happy, and I knew that that was something that I had to purchase while I was there. So I did purchase two different types of cotton and steel fabric from Brooklyn General. I purchased 2 yards of each of them because I'm intending to make some shirts out of them. The first one is not actually quilting cotton. I think it may be double gauze or maybe even some kind of crepe mix. I'm not entirely sure. To be honest, you guys, I bought it because of the print. And look. So this is my flamingo print fabric. It is amazing. I love this so much. And these flamingos are not actually hot pink, they're more coral, which for me goes with so many more items of clothing that I have than kind of a hot pink. It goes with orange and slightly more kind of earthy tones, and so I couldn't resist it. So I bought enough to be able to make myself a long sleeve button down shirt. I am planning a lot more separates in my near future because I really enjoy the versatility of separates as opposed to dresses, and yeah, I just really love anything button down. You know how much I love my button down dresses, my deer and doe dresses. So I wanted some shirts, and this is going to be a shirt. I did purchase another 2 yards of some very special cotton and steel fabric because they have collaborated with Rifle Paper Company. When I saw that this fabric was available, I jumped on it. I just couldn't leave it behind, and this fabric is just, it makes me so happy. It has lots of little horses and flowers and birds on it. And it's this beautiful kind of, it's not showing too well on the camera because it's kind of blowing out a little bit, but it's a sort of dusky pale pink with pops of navy blue, and again a kind of coral pink and little touches of gold, and I just love it. Again, this is going to be made into a shirt. I'm feeling very, very into my shirts at the moment, and I can't wait. I just think it's going to be beautiful. The only other place that we went to in New York that was kind of sewing, knitting related was Mood. Now, Emrys and I are both huge fans of Project Runway. We absolutely love it. We're huge Tim Gunn fans. And so it just wasn't going to be something that we didn't do when we were in New York. We needed to go to Mood. That's what we did, and we had a great time. I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to buy. I wanted to pick up some Pontoroma jersey, and I wanted to do that because Rosa of Sewn, the YouTube channel which is all about sewing, which you should definitely check out if you haven't. I know that when she last went to New York, that's what she picked up when she was at Mood, so I'm totally copying you, Rosa, because you're awesome. But I wanted to keep my eyes open for some really nice Pontoroma jerseys while I was there, because I'm hoping to make some of Tilly and the Buttons' Coco dress. So I picked up 2 different striped Pontoroma jerseys. So the first one is this. It's this beautiful kind of taupey brown with an orange red stripe, which I just think is beautiful. I really like striped jersey, but I get a little bit turned off when it's all black and white, as I'm wearing right here. I wanted something a little bit different, and this was just perfect. And right next to that on a roll was also this lovely one, which is the same kind of orangey red, but with a lovely emerald green stripe, which isn't coming out kind of quite as bright as it is in real life. I mean, the orange red is, but the green is a little bit more emerald than it's showing up on the camera. But I got 3 yards of each of these, I believe, and I'm going to be making some Coco dresses out of them, and I can't wait because they're going to be so comfy and cozy and squishy and gorgeous, and I just love them. I think that they're going to be lovely, and to be honest, they are so soft. And it was lovely just going out of Mood and saying, "Thank you, Mood." It was very exciting. Although Swatch the dog was nowhere to be seen, which was quite sad. But yeah, it was just a really lovely experience. And yeah, I totally fangirled the whole time. Okay guys, so that's all kind of New York in general. I'm gonna move on now to Vogue Knitting Live, which was one of the main reasons that we planned our New York trip at this time. I was desperate to go to Vogue Knitting Live to just experience Vogue Knitting Live itself, but also because I knew that so many of my podcasting friends were going to be in New York to go to this show, and I just wanted to meet them so much, and all of my dreams came true, you guys. I met so many beautiful people, and it was just incredible. So I'm going to kind of go through now exactly what happened at Vogue Knitting Live and everything that we got up to. First things first, on the Saturday, I met up with a lovely group of podcasting ladies. We all went for coffee, and I got a pumpkin spice latte. So I met up with Mina of the Knitting Expat podcast, Lara of Jinx Yarns and the Dyer's Notebook, Kristen from Voodoo and Fine Yarns and Yarngasm podcast, Jacqueline of Brooklyn Knit Folk, and also Julie of the Sweet Sparrow Yarns, both podcast and yarn dyeing company. And oh my word, it was like being in a dream, to be honest, because I think all of us felt that we knew each other really well already. And I mean, to be honest, all of the other ladies have met before, I believe, but seeing all of them in real life was just such a treat. I kind of went, oh my goodness, my friends are real people. And every single one of them was just an utter delight, and I had the most wonderful conversations with them. We sat in a coffee shop, we all got our knitting out and knitted on our projects together, and it was just perfect. I couldn't have asked to start the day in a better way. It really was just a magical moment. So after having coffee together, we all headed onto the subway and headed over to Times Square to the Marriott Marquis, which was where Vogue Knitting Live was. We went upstairs and all got our wristbands on, and we started to head towards the marketplace right away. And pretty much from the second that we walked through the door, we started bumping into people, viewers of the podcast, which was incredible. Like I said, thank you so much for everyone who came and said hello. I know how intimidating it can be to kind of come up to someone and actually talk to them. It can be embarrassing, you know, I get that, and you were all so brave and so wonderful, and I hope that I gave you all enough hugs. I was hugging everybody, it was brilliant. But right at the beginning, we actually bumped into Stacey. Hi Stacey, of the Stress Knits podcast, and her lovely new husband Doug. They came to New York on their honeymoon, and it was just incredible to see them, and I hugged Stacey. I didn't want to let her go. She's obviously of the Stress Knits podcast and now the Stress Knits yarn dyeing company, and it was just wonderful to meet her in person. So thank you, Stacey, for saying hi. It was lovely to meet you. We started then walking around the marketplace, and we picked up various other podcasters as we were heading around, and we kind of had like this podcasting posse stretched out in a kind of long snake around the marketplace. And it maybe wasn't the best idea to work things that way, because we were causing quite a lot of commotion. A lot of people were stopping to say hi, and I think that it was kind of interfering with through traffic and that type of thing, but who cares? We had the best time. Some of the other people that we ended up meeting, I am looking down at notes. I've tried to write down as many names as possible so I don't forget anybody. Oh, first of all, Adrian of the Freakish Lemon podcast and Gabby of Once Upon a Corgi. Oh my goodness, it was incredible meeting you guys in real life. I can't even. It was like meeting kindred spirits. It really, really was. Also, Denise of the Yoshi and Lucy podcast, Tanya of Knitting Spring podcast. I also bumped into Sharon of Knit Style, which was, I believe, TV knitting before. Now it's Knit Style, and she's obviously opened up the Knit Style yarn dyeing company recently, and she's just incredible. For me, one of the best moments was meeting Sue and Chelsea, which I believe I was incredibly lucky to be able to do that, because they were kind of heading homewards by the time we actually got there. We didn't get there when the marketplace opened. We wanted to kind of take things more relaxed and more chilled, and I just hugged them both so much and kind of couldn't believe that they were real people. I couldn't stop kind of going, you have arms and you're a real person and it's amazing. And sometimes people say that you shouldn't meet like your heroes because you'll always be disappointed, and I think that people can't live up to your expectations. But if this trip has taught me anything, it's that for the good people, that is so not true. Sue, you were amazing in real life. Chelsea, I was just overwhelmed at how kind, how wonderful, how gorgeous you are in real life, and it really, really, really was quite overwhelming. And as you can tell, that's kind of the feeling that I had for the majority of Vogue Knitting Live. We wandered around the entire marketplace. It was stretched over 2 floors. And I'm not going to lie, that first kind of loop, I really wasn't in the right frame of mind to buy anything. I couldn't see the wood for the trees in a way. I was completely blinded by the yarn and the people that I was with and the lovely people who came up and kept saying hello to me. And my heart was beating, and it was just crazy. It was one of the most amazing things together with one of the most stressful things that I've ever done, just because of my heart was beating so fast. I think my adrenaline was going through the roof. It was incredible. By the time we managed to kind of wind our way through the entirety of the marketplace, and Mina, thank you so much for keeping an eye on me. One thing that you will kind of come to learn is I have a terrible sense of direction. I can't find my way out of a paper bag. Mina really became my protector at Vogue Knitting Live, and she was constantly keeping an eye on me to make sure I didn't go astray, which I appreciate so much, Mina. Thank you. But after we'd gone through the whole marketplace, we did find a kind of quiet spot upstairs, and we all sat and knitted together, and it was just like being with old friends. I can't even remember how much time went by with us sitting there, but we sat up there for quite a while. And what was lovely is that we could look over the balcony onto the top level of Vogue Knitting Live and just see all of the stalls laid out there. It was wonderful, and it just was a lovely moment of peace and tranquility and happiness in the midst of all this kind of crazy chaos. And it's exactly what I think the majority of us needed at that point in the day, was just a little bit of decompression time after all of the intensities of being in the marketplace. I did end up making some purchases at the market. I kind of headed down a little bit later, wandered about, stroked some things, sniffed some yarn, you know, all of that good stuff. And I did make a couple of purchases, which I will be sharing with you in a little bit. But what we did after that day is we all headed out to dinner. We were joined by a lot of significant others. So Emrys came and joined as well, which was lovely because he got to meet a lot of my lovely yarny friends, which was very, very special. We were also joined by Eric and his gorgeous partner Sebastian, and as always, spending time with Eric just makes my life better. I absolutely adore him, and Sebastian is just a joy to be with. It was wonderful spending time with both of them. I also met for the first time Shamika of Mika Makes podcast. I'm sorry, Shamika, if that's not the name. I'm pretty sure that that's the name. But it was lovely meeting her properly. And also Alison I met, which was great. And we just had a lovely dinner, a lot more knitting, a lot more chatting. And I think all of us were just completely exhausted by the end of the evening. When we got back to our hotel, I almost passed out straight away. I did go back to Vogue Knitting Live on Sunday. I was so tired on Saturday that I was considering not going back. I'm not going to lie, because I just didn't know whether or not my heart would be able to take the excitement for a second day. But I did go back on Sunday, and I'm really, really glad I did. I met up with Mina again, of the Knitting Expat podcast. I don't know why I'm constantly saying that. You know who Mina is. And I also met up with Kelsey of the Primrose Yarn Company, and we met up because we wanted to go and see the designer panel, which was a free open panel that anyone could go and see, and it had some incredible designers. Oh, we also met Michelle Wong. That was the day that I met Michelle Wong and nearly died because she did know who I was, and I was not expecting that. Michelle, if you're watching, thank you again. But it was amazing. We then had the designer panel, which was wonderful. I found the whole thing brilliant. We also met up with Eric. Eric came to watch the panel with us as well. And then we headed about the marketplace a little bit more. I was really, really lucky enough to see, again, I saw them first on Saturday, but I caught up with them on Sunday. Carrie and Kelly of Notorious, the Notorious podcast. And when I went back through the marketplace, I walked around with them, which was wonderful. And also for a little bit, I want to say a special hello to Denise. Hi Denise, who came and found me on Sunday, came back specifically to find me on Sunday, so thank you. And Denise has been a long time viewer of the podcast, and I just really appreciate the fact that you came and said hi. So thank you, Denise, and thanks for walking around with me for a bit. But that was my Vogue Knitting Live experience. After circling the marketplace a couple of times, again, I made a couple more little purchases, and then I headed back to meet Emrys. And it was just amazing. It was an incredible experience. I loved it. I was so tired, but so happy. And it's genuinely one of the best experiences that has come out of me doing this podcast. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to all of my lovely new friends that I have made, that I've met. Thank you to everybody who came and said hello. Thank you for everybody who talked to me, who gave me hugs, who talked about Hamilton with me. Genuinely, I had the best time, and it's all thanks to you, and I just can't thank you enough. It was amazing. Okay guys, so for the last part of part 1 of this episode, I am going to be going through my Vogue Knitting Live haul. And yes, it's pretty plentiful. I'm not gonna lie, I've been a very, very lucky girl this trip, and I've managed to pick up some lovely bits and pieces, which I'm really, really excited to share with you. So the first thing that jumped out at me and just had to come home was a very, very special skein of yarn, which is by Blue Moon Fibre, and it is on their Socks That Rock base. It's 100% merino. I'm not showing it to you just yet because I really want to kind of build it up in your mind, but it's very special to me because this is the colorway. This is called Rise Up. It's a Hamilton themed colorway of yarn. It is amazing. Now, because we were on a budget on this holiday, we didn't want to spend too much money on things that we didn't need. We didn't end up picking up any Hamilton merchandise when we went to the theatre. And so this for me was just the perfect thing to remember our time in New York and my time seeing Hamilton. I could not leave this behind, and I'm so happy that it decided to come home with me. The next purchase that I made is entirely to do with Mina Phillipp. Now, Eric has said previously on his podcast, Sticks Plus Twine, that last year all of his purchases were completely enabled by Mina, by going around the marketplace with Mina. And like I said a little bit earlier in the episode, Mina was kind of looking after me around the marketplace, making sure I didn't get lost or wander off on my own. And so I kind of was just like, I'm just going to do whatever Mina tells me, because she knows a lot, so why not? So she was the person who pointed me in the direction of the yarn. She said, this yarn is really, really good value. It was 3 skeins for $40, I believe, and that would be a sweater's quantity of yarn. And so she pointed me in the direction of this. I took one look at the yarn, I gave it a good squeeze, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna buy this. Mina told me to buy it. Well, she didn't tell me, she just pointed me in its direction, and I just went, yep, I have to do whatever Mina suggests that I do. So I ended up picking up 3 skeins in this gorgeous kind of purple mulberry colour, which is amazing. I love this so much. This colour is glorious, and it's called Sultry Steps, but the company is Good For You. There's their little label, Good For You, like a U sheep. And it is a combination of superwash merino, baby llama and nylon. And this is about as soft as you can even believe. It's beautiful. Oh, I just love it. They had a lot of different colours. They also had a really lovely kind of dusky pink red and a beautiful orange, kind of pumpkin style orange. But I already have an orange cardigan on the needles, which you may or may not be seeing in part 2 of this episode when I'm actually dealing with what's on my needles. But this colour is something that I don't actually have any garments in, but I do think it still suits kind of my colouring. I do have a pattern in mind for what I want to make with this. I tried to make sure that I was making very conscious decisions if I was going to buy a sweater's quantity of yarn. I can't remember the name of the pattern. I'll pop it down below. It is a pattern by Gudrun Johnson, and I thought that that's particularly appropriate because of course she was one of the lovely ladies who was at the designer panel that I went to. And yeah, sweater's quantity of yarn. I made one more purchase at Vogue Knitting Live, and that is not to say that I don't have more things to share with you, because a lot of my dear friends were incredibly generous. But in terms of this purchase, it's a little difficult for me to share it with you, and that's because I've already been using this yarn. This is the cake of yarn that I have yet left, and if you know me at all, you will know why this appealed to me. All these beautiful burgundies and bits of purple. I'm clearly on a purple kick at the moment, but this colour was called Candy Swirl, and it is just a superwash merino nylon blend. But yes, as you can see, it's a small little cake that I currently have left. So yeah, I've used a fair amount of this yarn in a particular project that if you want to see it, check out part 2. But that was my final purchase at Vogue Knitting Live, and I really, really like it. The rest of the goodies that I have to share with you were kindly given to me as gifts by various people, for which I am incredibly grateful. The first thing that I was lucky enough to receive was given to me by Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. When we met up in Brooklyn, she handed me the most beautiful parcel and said it's a combination of a birthday gift and a welcome to New York gift. And Kristen, thank you so much for being so generous, and she's just a dream, you guys. If you think that she's wonderful from watching her podcast, believe me, she actually is. I have the biggest girl crush on you, Kristen, and I am not ashamed to admit it. But in that parcel were not 1, but 2 skeins of Voile and Vine yarns in possibly the most perfect colorways that you could have chosen for me, and I got really quite emotional when she handed these to me. The first one, this is I Am No Bird, and this is Kristen's Jane Eyre inspired colorway. And Jane Eyre is my favourite book of all time. It's genuinely #1 on my favourite books of all time, and so to have this dyed by someone who I adore as much as Kristen is just so special. This is on her Volca base, which I have purchased many a skein of her Volca previously. It's a superwash merino cashmere and nylon blend, and I love it. I absolutely adore it. And if you can see here, it is just subtle, dusty, speckled goodness. The second skein that that Kristen gave to me, I was never expecting in a million years that I would be able to get my paws on this. It is a skein of her Moon Cusser yarn, and this is on her blitzed base, which has gold stellina in it. And this is the colourway that Kristen dyed up for Halloween this year, and I am such a Halloween junkie. Look at this, focus. Look at the colours in here. Can you even handle how incredible this is? Oh my goodness, I could die. It's so beautiful. I can't even tell you how happy this makes me. It's just thank you, Kristen. Thank you so much. But I will think of you when I knit them up, and I'm sending you so much love. You are incredible. The next lovely thing that I was given at Vogue Knitting Live was from Julie of Sweet Sparrow Yarns. And I just want to start by saying, Julie, I am completely and utterly in love with you. I think you are amazing. Julie dyes the most beautiful, subtle, delicate skeins of yarn. But she gave me a skein of her yarn, and again, it's caked up right now, you guys, because I used it for a particular project. Here is the little cake that I have left. This colour is Miss Honey, and if you can see, it's a combination of this beautiful golden yellow with a really delicate pale pink, and I can't even tell you how stunning this is. She gave this to me on her Gosling base, which again is an MCN, merino cashmere nylon, and it's everything that you could want and more out of yarn. I'm very much in love with her and her yarn, and again, if you want to see what this has gone into, check out part 2 of the podcast. Julie, I'm so happy to have met you. I don't really have words for how special it was to have such lovely conversations with you, and yeah, I feel very lucky to be able to call you my friend now, so thank you. When I met Sharon of the Knit Style podcast and Knit Style Yarns, she was carrying around a bag of yarn which she was giving to lots of different people, which was so exciting. And she very, very kindly allowed me to pick a skein of yarn for myself. But then she said, why not pick another one for a giveaway? So Sharon has actually been generous enough to give us 2 different skeins of yarn, and I can't tell you how amazing these colorways are. These are the skeins. They are incredible. So this was the one that I picked up to start off with. It's called Fallen Leaves, and again, it's on a merino cashmere nylon blend. It's my favorite blend of all time, you guys. And if you can see, it's this beautiful shade of pale pink, but it has all of these little speckles. So kind of blues and greens in here, and that goes across the whole skein. I think it is beautiful, and like I said, it's on one of my favourite bases, being on an MCN base. The second skein is just, I think it would make the most incredible pair of socks ever. This is called Ribbon Candy. It is amazing. It's this incredible blend of bright pops of colour. So there is hot pink and yellow and blue and reds and greens. It's just beautiful. I love it. It's amazing. So definitely check out Sharon's podcast and her shop because she is incredible and she uploads the most wonderful content. So do head over and say hi because she's just wonderful. And thank you, Sharon, for being so generous to me and the podcast. It's amazing. In terms of other people being very, very generous towards you guys as well as me, when I bumped into Sue and Chelsea, they gave me my first skein of the Legacy Fibre Arts yarn and oh my gosh, look at this! Just look at it! Oh, it's beautiful. I'm gonna do a quick zoom. There are orange and red and hot pink over the natural base of this. Oh, stunning. And this is, of course, their Wool You Be Mine colourway. This is their Valentine's colourway on their Cozy Toes base, which is, again, a merino cashmere nylon blend, which just makes my heart happy. It's beautiful, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be able to have my first ever Legacy Fibre Arts skein of yarn. It's just... But of course they were generous enough to also give me another skein of this yarn for you guys, so that will be being a prize for one of my cows in the near future. Thank you so much, ladies. You know how much I adore you and how talented I think you are. You blow my mind, and I genuinely think that you are going to go from strength to strength with Legacy Fibre Arts, and I'm so proud of you both and so happy to finally have my paws on a skein of your yarn. It's just, oh, it's amazing. And as you can tell from the massive smile on my face, it just makes me so happy. Another gift that I received, I know guys, I've been so spoiled during this trip, was from none other than Gabby of Once Upon a Corgi. And can I just say, Gabby, you are my soul sister. I wish that we lived closer together because I know that we'd see each other every day, and I just adore you. I think you're wonderful and I pretty much want to be you a little bit. Lovely Gabby was kind enough to give me one of the most beautiful gifts I've ever received. First of all, it all came in this project bag, which just made my heart so happy. It's covered in Make, Do and Mend in kind of a cross stitch pattern, and on the inside it says I like you, which is so kind and sweet, and oh my goodness. She actually gave me 2 skeins of her Once Upon a Corgi yarn, and I've been wanting to purchase yarn from Gabby for quite some time, and I will definitely be doing so in the future because she does the most incredible colourways. She gave me a skein of her My Dear Abigail, purple again. Can we talk about purple? Because clearly that's just everything right now. Purple is everything for me right now. But this is on her ginger base, which is merino, nylon and gold stellina. Again, I'm obsessed with the gold stellina. I love it so much. It's so pretty. I'm so happy that it's going to come and live with me. But on top of that, she also gave us a skein of yarn for the Harry Potter cowl, and I want this so much. I'm gonna have to get some of this from you, Gabby, in the future. This is called You Have Your Mother's Eyes, and how beautiful is this green, for one? This is stunning. I just adore it. Oh my lord, look at it, and there's Gabby's label, Once Upon a Corgi. This is on her Tesla base, which is Superwash BFL combined with silk and cashmere. This will be going into the Harry Potter cowl as a prize. Gabby, I have no words. I have no words for how amazing these are and how stunning and how generous you are and how kind, and yeah, buddy, I hope we stay friends forever and ever and ever. I have one more thing to share with you in terms of haul, and I've left this one till last because it is particularly special. When I was wandering around the marketplace, I came upon a booth by a company that I have heard of before, and it's Green Mountain Spinnery. I met with Maureen, I think it's Maureen, I'm really sorry if it isn't, who basically was head of the booth and controlling everything, and she said hi and said how much she enjoys my podcast, and thank you so much for that. It meant so much to have such a lovely conversation with you. And she told me a little bit about Green Mountain Spinnery. All of their yarn is produced in the US. As much as possible, it's produced really cleanly with no chemicals, and it just is a wonderful company. It's incredibly inspirational. I'd really recommend that you look into their company in a little bit more detail because you'll fall in love with them. They kindly offered for me to be able to take a couple of skeins of yarn home, and I at first was a little bit overwhelmed because there were so many beautiful things. I just didn't know how I would be able to pick a few skeins of yarn to take with me, and then in walks Mina Phillipp again. Thank you, Mina, for being my guiding light in this entire trip. But Mina basically said, the particular skeins of yarn that I was looking at, which is the New Mexico Organic 2-ply DK weight yarn, has about the same yardage as Quince & Co, which is what she used for her Snow Day Shawl. You can see where this is going, can't you? Being faced with the fact that this would be the perfect yardage to make that shawl, Mina helped me pick out a colour combination that would work for her beautiful shawl, and I am eternally grateful to Green Mountain Spinnery for allowing me to take this yarn home. But I picked 3 different colours, which I am so excited about because look at this. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's just everything I've wanted and more in a combination for a shawl. Look at these colours, you guys. How rich and heathered and beautiful are they? And I can't even tell you how amazing they smell. It just blows my mind that it's incredible. The colours that I picked were grey. This one made me laugh. This is Purple Rain, which I love because it's got these tiny little flecks of a really beautiful red and blue in there as well. And then this beautiful one is Evergreen, which has tiny little flecks of gold in it. And I can't tell you how excited I am to cast on this shawl. Firstly, because it's Mina's shawl pattern. I can't wait to get my Snow Day shawl on the needles because seeing hers in real life made me want one so much. But also, I'm so excited to use this yarn because I know that it's been produced with such love and such thought, and that just makes it all the more special. And I really can't wait to work on this. It's gonna be so nice on my neck and I'm gonna love it, and I can't tell you how lucky I feel to be able to have been given this yarn and be able to use it. So thank you so much to Green Mountain Spinnery and Maureen, and thank you for making me feel so welcome. It meant the world. And I did say that I'd be casting on this the second that I got home. I have been distracted with another project, as I keep hinting about throughout this whole thing. You know what it is, and if not, just check out part 2. But as soon as that particular project is finished, this one's going on the needles. It's been a long time since I've been going through like a shawl time when I've wanted to knit shawls, but I'm very much in that period of my life right now. So yes, this will be cast on very shortly. And yeah, whoever wins the Snow Day shawl, you can get on board that lovely train of Snow Day love as well. So hooray. So that is everything, you guys, for Vogue Knitting Live, for the haul, for our experience in New York, for our entire trip. And that is everything for part 1 of this week's podcast. I know, it's been a long episode so far. This is why I needed to split things in half, because there are so many more things that I have to share with you. It's not even funny. But all I can say is thank you for watching thus far. Please do check in with part 2 for our more kind of normal series of events. So for What's on My Needles, for a little bit of Owl Post, for a little bit of Love of Pod, and also of course it wouldn't be an episode without a bit of general waffle. But if you're interested in all of that, please check out part 2. Thank you so much for watching so far, and I'll see you guys really soon in a little bit for part 2. So for now, bye!